Welcome and good evening to another edition of King Talk Tuesday, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. I'm your host, Andy King. We air every Tuesday on Roku TV, Millennium TV 24, Horizon Satellite, Amazon Prime at 7 p.m. We're also on Facebook and our YouTube channel. We air every Tuesday as well as 9 p.m. on BronxNet Television, Opno Channel 70, as well as Fios Channel 2136. Each and every week we're on. And you know what I always say, right? People pay attention to people who participate. So tell a friend, tell a neighbor that King Talk Tuesdays is airing on, and we're going to have more dynamic, inspiring conversations throughout the week. There's been a lot of things that's been happening in the world today, and we're talking about it today on King Talk Tuesday, whether it's community or politics or politics, whatever it is, we're just asking you to continue to tune in. With that being said, like I said, there's a lot of things happening, but I really just want to know kind of like what's going on. Well, if we think about what's going on, I'll tell you what's going on. First thing that happened today, good Mayor Eric Adams and New York City Department of Education, actually, it's not even the New York City Department of Education, as the good chancellor said, it's New York City Public Schools. David C. Banks, along with the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development, DYCD, Commissioner Keith Howard, were joined by New York City Council Speaker Adrian Adams to announce several investments towards the city budget to further support young people and families. These investments are possible because of a strong fiscal management and better than expected revenues, and include a $32 million to protect programming that was previously funded with temporary stimulus dollars and $20 million to extend the city's popular summer reading hours. Additionally, as a measure to combat COVID-19 related learning losses, Mayor Adams and Speaker Adams also announced a wholesomeness policy for the initial budget allocations of New York City public schools for the 24-25 school year to maintain stability for school budgets. We know that when stimulus money came down, there was that money that went into the school system. It is coming to a conclusion and coming to an end. So how do we make sure that schools stay stable while more students and families are leaving the school system? The city wants to make sure there's a maintenance of budget levels to make sure that schools don't fall apart because students leave, because they do have a mandate for smaller class sizes. But that means what? You still have to have the classes, you still got to have the rooms, and you still have to have the educators in those rooms, and that costs funding. So good job to Mayor Adams and Speaker Adams as well. Well, also, if you didn't know, the month of June is African American Music Month. Yes, African American Music Month was created by Kenny Gamble. I don't know if you all know Kenny Gamble, great music producer and writer, and media strategist Diana Williams and DJ Ed Wright on June 7th, 1979. It was backed by then President Jimmy Carter, who they held the first event on the steps out there in Washington and had this big music rally to celebrate it. Today, it continues to do what it do because African Americans have had great influences on the true culture of American history. And anybody knows whether songs you're listening to, whether it's some old Sammy Davis Jr., some Sam Cooke, Etta James, whoever you was listening to, come on, because when Aretha Franklin showed up, we know what it was all about. But you go back to Mahalia Jackson days, there's so many who started in gospel music, rhythm and blues, the dance, all that African Americans, blacks, whatever we call ourselves today, were part of the process and make sure the stability of music in America, with so many memories are captured in our culture, whether they were stole from the black people, ain't nothing but a hound dog. We know about that. We won't go there, but we know there's been a lot of theft when it comes to black music in America, in this country called America. But the truth is what the truth is. And that's what the month of June is, to inspire, educate, and remind us of the contributions that blacks have made to the music industry and to all music in the heritage of the United States of America. Secondly, we want to let you know that June is also Caribbean Heritage Month. That's right, Caribbean Heritage Month. That's right. It was put together by Congressmember Barbara Lee in 2005, June 27th to be exact, when she put that piece of legislation to the floor, got it signed, got it approved to recognize the significance of Caribbeans that not only in this country, but their offspring, their lineage, to let them know the importance that they've had in the culture of the United States. So with that being said, it was only fitting on Saturday, January 1st of 2024, that we hosted 6th annual MC Shy Rock Day in the Boogie Down Bronx. where we celebrate the women of hip hop and the hip hop culture. Now, for those of you who may not know who MC Sharrock is, she has professed, is professed, and no other can mess with the great MC Sharrock as being the first woman lyricist of MC in the world of hip hop. As a young 16-year-old and 17-year-old, she started out with when Melly Mel and all of them were young, and Kool Herc was doing their thing. And got to tell you, if it wasn't, Funky Floor Plus One, which Sharrock was part of, the first group to ever be on Saturday Night Live television back in the 70s. I remember I was a teenager as well. So kudos to the queen, the mother of, and the matriarch of women's hip hop, MC Sharrock. Great to be your friend. Thank you for keep on doing what you're doing. And next week, we're going to show the celebration that we have in its entirety here on King Talk Tuesdays. Well, before we take a break, I have a dynamic woman that's sitting next to me. Yes, she is one of the queens that moves on the scene. Yes, she is a generator and not a procrastinator, but someone tells it like it is. And like I say, they're advocates of all advocates. Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to recognize and put your hands together. But more importantly, welcome to King Talk Tuesday for the first time, our community advocate of advocates, Sister Latina Brown. Welcome to King Talk Tuesday.
Thank you so much for having me here, Reverend King. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here. This is a wonderful platform to share what's been going on in the community, and I'm very appreciative of being here.
Oh, well, welcome. Well, welcome. Well, let's jump right in. You might as well just jump right in. King Talk, I said, it's the show with real views, real news, and real talk. But before we go anyplace else, tell the folks, who is Latina Brown? And what makes Latina Brown a community advocate?
Latina Brown is a mom. Latina Brown is a advocate, the voice of the voiceless. Latina Brown is a leader of her own forthright. Latina Brown is a woman of God. Latina Brown is a mentor. I decided to become a community advocate. It was approximately 17 years ago when I ventured out into addressing some of the issues in my community, which was, of course, housing. A lot of seniors, they live in these developments and they don't have families to support them. So what happens when a senior citizen is living on their own under a slumlord? They get taken advantage of. So I stepped up to the plate and decided to take on the role to be a tenant leader and educate our seniors and work with our seniors and veterans, because veterans are always left out. And it just felt really good helping seniors and veterans get proper housing, get their issues addressed, and also address their rent, getting them access to assistance, and it's like a challenge. You're challenging yourself. You're going against the grain. And I don't regret it at all. And I think that's what led up to me going out more into the community and helping so many people. I went from housing advocacy to also working with law enforcement, partnering up with them, doing food distributions, just doing so many things, going to the centers, also working with our youth who are in trouble, our problematic youth who, they need guidance. And I'm not afraid to step outside of the box. So I think that's what makes me different from all of the activists and other community advocates that you see today. I come from humble beginnings.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing the core and the essence of who Queen Latina Brown is.
King.
And you mentioned this community advocate that you are, but some people say, is there a correlation between activism, activists? So how would you define community activist compared to community advocate?
Well, I feel like the word activism kind of, it got blown out of proportion. A lot of people abuse that word. We do have some great community activists out there. But however, whenever there's a movement, people watch the news and, they believe everything that they see in the media. I always say it's great. It's good to do your independent research and kind of like pull away from the mainstream media. Independent media is by far the best.
Okay.
Because they're more trustworthy. But you have activists who kind of like hijack movements. And they, it's more about their personal endeavors. It's more about them being selfish and not really caring for the community. So I feel like that word has been abused over and over again. Whereas advocates, we kind of like, we are the voice between the community and the elected officials. So you want to advocate for change, which means that you need to sit down with these elected officials to see what policies that you want them to push legislatively to try to better the community.
Mm.
And you're doing this for free. This is not some, you have to be really passionate about advocacy. And activists, they get paid to act up.
I like that.
Advocates,
I like that. I like that.
on
Paid
the
the
other
actor.
hand,
Mm-hmm.
we're more passionate. You
Mm-hmm.
have to really have, that kind heart to say, I just want to do this because I want to better the environment, the community, and we have children, a younger generation that's up and coming. So it's our responsibility to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
Right. Wow. Well, I like that definition. Activists get paid to act up, and advocate come from a dedicated source within their heart to do what they want to do. But we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back on King Talk Tuesday to talk a little bit more with Queen Latina Brown, our community activist here on King Talk Tuesday. We'll be right back.
The Bronx Youth Empowerment Program, YEP, is a youth organization that has served the Northeast Bronx for 17 years. During our tenure, we have provided recreational and educational forums that have nurtured the growth of many youth in the community. YEP has also serviced hundreds of youngsters around New York City. YEP's target audience is youth from the age of 11 to 18 with the goal of helping youth become productive adults. YEP provides young people with resources to explore leadership skills, community involvement, and self-development. YEP consists of weekly and bi-weekly informational sessions with guest speakers from professional, political, and entertainment arenas. Also, as a part of community involvement, YEP will host trips to a variety of venues for educational and recreational experiences. As we continue to partner with other local organizations and serve our community, we will strive to unite and develop the youth in our community. The mission of the Bronx Youth Empowerment Program is building mind, body, and community.
Welcome back on another edition of King Talk Tuesdays. I'm your host, Andy King, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. We air every Tuesday night at 7 p.m., not only just our Facebook page, but on Millennium TV 24, as well as Roku TV, Amazon Prime, Verizon Satellite, Apple TV, and all smart TVs. We also air at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays as well on Optimal Channel 70, as well as Fios Channel 2136. We ask everyone please to tune in and tell your friends and neighbors that King Talk Tuesdays is airing right now. And we have a very dynamic guest that's joining us, the community advocate of advocates, Sister Latina Brown, here in the house. We want to welcome her back to King Talk Tuesdays. And we like to thank you because you mentioned something before we went to break about the difference between activism and advocates, where there is people getting paid to go cause, disrupt, movements, and advocates actually sit before those who actually can help transition, get a cause actually delivered.
Yes.
Where activists run the street, tear it up. We talked a little bit about that over the break where you were mentioning about Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking, because I think is an example of what you're sharing.
Yes. Black Lives Matter, when it first launched, it was supposed to be something meaningful, and it was at that time. And, we were all for it. I think you were on board, everybody, we were on board. We want to fight for the cause and do the right thing by our community. However, you had a lot of high profile activists who kind of like took advantage of the movement and took advantage of those families who were hurting. If you pay attention, mainstream media, they don't talk about these things. But you see these families go on the internet and share their hurt and pain over these activists that took advantage and didn't help. And they had to come out of pocket to bury their children.
Wow.
So, over time, as the movement went on, we noticed that a lot of groups were infiltrating Black
Yes.
Lives Matter. And, once again, this they're trying to make us look bad. And these particular groups of what you call Antifa. These groups go and infiltrate different orgs and disrupt things, and it hurts the movement. I'm pretty sure you watched, incidents where, there was a rally in downtown Manhattan. I think you saw what happened on Fordham Road in the Bronx. Like, they
Yes.
literally
Yes.
destroyed those small businesses, and to see the owners hurt,
Right.
that their businesses are destroyed. Some of them had to like literally shut down permanently
Right.
because of these groups. So for me, seeing these groups come in and infiltrate and take what was originally ours away from us, I think it kind of pulled people away from the Black Lives Matter movement. And now people are just like, let's break away and do our own thing and not be a follower. I think
Right.
everybody's kind of like doing their own individual thing, which can be a good and bad thing, because you don't want to have so many people doing their thing, because it's like it's like a division. It's
Right.
like we're being divided.
Right.
So it was a weird couple years for us, for the entire world, because the entire world was watching this movement. It was a beautiful thing in the beginning, and then it just pretty much got disrupted and infiltrated by so many.
Well, since you mentioned, we talked about Black Lives Matter, but then that goes back to, and I say to all our listeners and our viewers, anytime, and we got to keep it real. We're in Black Music Month, African American History Month. Our names have been changed so many times. We're still a child of God.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, anything that particularly is designed to focus on the Black community, if it's positive, the system finds a way to rip it down.
Right.
If it's negative, they fuel more gasoline on it so that fire can burn. So when Black Lives Matters originated and started out, it seemed like a good thing with all the killings that were happening under Black people being killed by the police. But, I keep telling everybody, Black people have been killed in this country by the oppressor since day one. They just changed the mirror, but it's still the same mirror.
Exactly.
So how do we stand strong as a community? And when we start talking about the community, we're talking about the Black community. I'm not going to act like, and that's what happened with Black Lives Matter. They start saying, well, Blue Lives Matter, or Purple Lives Matter, this Lives Matter. I'm like, there we go again. We're talking about a set of people who've gone through something in this country that no one else can claim. Then the minute you start having that conversation, everyone wants to infiltrate it and add other things.
Right.
So as an advocate right now, what are some of the things that you're advocating for that's on your list that you're speaking about that has an impact on the lives of the city, people that live in the city of New York?
Well, I think at this current moment, I think we need to be more supportive of our veterans, because we've had boots on the ground. I've spoken with, I don't know if you know him, K-Born Rivers.
Yes.
I've spoken with Gene DeFrancis, some of the other community leaders. Right now, we have veterans sleeping on the streets. We have veterans, literally walking the streets with PTSD and lack of resources because they don't have family members to take care of them. So we're trying to advocate for more fundings for our veterans. And I see our girl, Councilwoman Vicky Palladino. she's just awesome. She's doing her thing. Her, Councilmember Robert Holden, Councilwoman Anna Vernikoff, and Councilman Joe Burrell. They are pushing, but they're going against the grain, because you have a majority of city council members who are progressive. So that's not on their agenda. So you have these 4 sitting elected officials who are trying to do the right thing. How do you go about getting these things for our veterans when they're pushing back against you?
Did you hear that? You got folks who are trying to get it right, and then because it's not part of your agenda, then you ignore it. The sad reality, and I'm glad you brought that on the table, because we got to do better when it comes to those who are sitting at the table. And agendas hurt us more than the love of that can unite us.
Yes.
I'm the son of a veteran. So I
See,
know I did stand with a number of them. We did a veterans press conference, asked the mayor for funding, Robert Holden, a number of veterans, Mr.
yes,
Kevin Mexi Meggett, who's now the president, nothing of NAVETS right
yes,
now.
I
So,
saw.
so congratulations and hats off to him. He's a staunch advocate
Congratulations.
for himself, who was in Iraq. But so many, like you said, it's not right. We ask for men, servicemen to go over and servicewomen to deliver and give up themselves for the freedoms that we claim to have in this country
Yes,
upon return, only to be and I can't even see. It's a touchy subject for those, but
yeah.
it's a subject for that's real. We have individuals who entered into this country recently, have done
Oh,
nothing to help the country, but a veteran is finding himself on the street
oh yeah.
because no one will take the time and say, "Hey, let's collect them up. Let's find out what your story. Let's open up. If we can open up buildings for people who haven't paid no tax dollars at all in their life to come to this country, we should be able to take buildings that we and let's get our veterans off the street. Let's get them
Thank you.
stabilized. They offer a talent."
Yeah,
And they need employment for people who can do some really good. Why not take care of our veterans? So we got to do better in the city of New York when it comes to our yes, we do. And I always say, for full disclosure, people know that I was part of the city council,
yes,
and I always say there's three entities that you should never mess with: children, because
yes,
children they need a guidance, and we should never be trying to argue what children need. We should just give what children need.
exactly.
Our seniors who did it right, who had to
Oh
do it
yes,
twice, they should not be coming to City Hall lobbying on senior day and begging at an 80-year-old, 90-year-old asking me to save their money. If I can't figure that one out without them, I don't need to be sitting in that seat.
exactly.
I don't need to be sitting in that seat.
Speak to your seniors, engage with
Right,
them.
yeah. And then our veterans, those who provide the protection for the country. A veteran should never have to come back and find some place to eat, sleep, or just to have economic stability.
Exactly.
That should be like the first thing once they land. And if they're having some health challenges, like you said,
Yes,
we
yes,
need to take care of them. We need to take care of them. Definitely take care of them. So let's jump before we go into our break. Other than veterans issues, what other issues that you think you're advocating with the folks who are making decisions to make a difference, other
yes.
than veterans?
Well, right now we're trying to push for mental health,
Mm-hmm.
which is also a common problem in the Black and Brown community, predominantly the Black community, which is something that it's funny because elected officials don't really talk about it, and I think it's something we need to engage more with the community and discuss. You know, dementia, Alzheimer's, bipolar disorders, all these things that impacts our community. We're not talking about it. And when I spoke with K-Born, he has his nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay if I can mention his
Yeah,
nonprofit?
my guess.
His nonprofit is called I Am My Community, and he wants to make mental health not just a serious thing, but he also wants to make it into something fun, where he's trying to bring the community together. So I will be partnering up with K-Born because he's doing his annual summer block event
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
where
mm-hmm.
he does like food giveaways. He talks about mental health. He has music, and he's reaching out to people from all over the Bronx, Harlem. He's reaching out to different organizations. And I say this, that we need to start paying attention to, number one, the Black man that's doing the work. Okay, I feel like guys like leaders, community leaders like K-Born and, the Black Spades, who are all dads, grandfathers, Black,
Mm-hmm.
single, they're not getting the recognition for the work that they're doing. And it's time that we start paying attention and working more with them. I've been working with K-Born for over several years now, but I think I'm going to get more involved with the stuff that he's doing in the summertime, because I think that's very important. And we need to start bringing out the elected officials. Please pay attention and watch what the community leaders are doing. Get involved. Don't just sit behind the curtains because you don't like the way this community leader moves, or you feel some type of way about this community leader. As your role as a leader, it is your job to represent all, regardless of how you feel. Put your feelings to the side. This brother's doing a lot of work, and also yourself, Reverend King. You're doing a lot with the youths.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the Black man that's out here doing the legwork, and I think you guys need to be acknowledged more.
Well, I appreciate it, and I know he appreciated. I know Kayvon and been to a few things, and I understand his passion, his love, his frustration, and his annoyance
Yes.
all at the same time. And I'm it's not to throw rocks at anybody, but yeah, there are folks who need to pay more attention of the people who are doing the work and not let the ugly of
Yes.
politics, manage your thinking so much that you forget that you're there to serve the people. The people are not there to serve you.
Exactly. Our tax dollars is paying their salary.
Yeah.
You know, we worked at city council, so
Yeah.
we understand, we get it.
Yeah. Well, people get it, and we got some more to get and got given to the rest of the show today. But we are at halftime of King Talk Tuesdays. So we're going to be right back on King Talk Tuesdays after another word. And we have our good brothers, Israel United in Christ, coming up and giving four more words for us. So we'll be right back on King Talk Tuesdays.
Shalom Israel, Most High in Christ bless. Scan that QR code that you will see on the screen. Because guess what? We trying to push this truth throughout the four corners of the earth. Let's push this truth throughout the four corners of the earth, man. Stop playing games.
Make sure you subscribe to all our channels. We're pushing the truth.
Make sure you subscribe.
Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. Stop playing games.
Welcome back. I'm Andy King, the host of King Talk Tuesdays, the show with real views, real news, and real talk. We air every Tuesday, 7 p.m. live on Millennium TV 24, Verizon Satellite, Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Smart TV, Facebook, YouTube. You name it, you call it. You can get it King Talk Tuesday on it at 7 p.m. live. We also air 9 p.m. as well on Optimal Channel 70 BronxNet, as well as Fios Channel 2136. And like I always say right now, people pay attention to people who participate. We're asking you to do more in your community and do as much as you can. Normally during the halftime break, I share a little thought on what the world looks like, how we're managing ourselves, how we're being disruptive to our own neighborhoods. And I just ask everyone, for me, the Most High in Christ calls my shots, and I'm flesh and blood. I'm a man. And if I make my errors, I'm okay with it because I know the Most High in Christ forgives me. And he also tells me, he says, how can I ask him for forgiveness, but I can't forgive the brother who I walk with each and every day. And I even have not seen Christ in the flesh myself. So that gives me the motivation to say, hey, listen, if you wrong me, I apologize. But if you feel I wrong you, let's apologize. But at the end of the day, let's be better as brothers and sisters to each other. We live in the same neighborhoods, the same communities, and it's not like no one's coming out of Mars to disrupt Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, or Edenwald. It's the people who live there who disrupt it. So if you find somebody who's a disruptor, let's bring them in. Let's just figure out how we can help them be better. The world's not crazy after COVID, and I just ask everybody, find your way to pray. I find that there's a lot of comfort in prayer and giving it up and let a higher power deal with, So if you find that moment, pray for your children, pray for your family, pray for your neighbors, pray for your community, pray for your friends, pray for your enemies, pray for your frenemies, whatever that looks like. But just do some praying throughout today, because I do know the Most High in Christ will carry you through the storm. And if you don't believe that, you tripping for a concrete hurt. So let them carry you so you don't have to feel the blow so hard by yourself. Because we're going to go through something in this world because we're in this world. We may not be of this world, because if you're of Christ, you're going to go through something, But if you're dancing around with Satan, and Lucifer, well, happy times are here again for you, but everything soon comes to an end. So I just say to us, let's have a great time together while we're here and show a lot of love to one another, regardless of what we look like. Let's share a lot of love to one another. However we talk like, let's share a lot of love. However we walk like, just share a lot of love. For my brothers and sisters, I ain't got nothing but love for you, as the 5 Heartbeats would say. But we're going to jump into the second half of King Talk Tuesday with the advocate of advocates, Sister Latina Brown, who was here dropping some science, keeping it real. And we're gonna go into keeping it real right now too, because the world of we talked about the community part. Now we're gonna jump into the dicey part of politics, quote unquote politics, whichever floats your boat. But we just want to chat it up a little bit about that. So yours truly walked the road as a council member for a few years. But Latina, you took a stab at it as well at one time.
Yes.
Talk a little about what that experience and why did you want to do it at all?
When I ran for city council in 2021
Mm-hmm.
as a Democrat at the time. I ran against Councilman Rafael Salamanca.
Mm.
I decided to run against him because I felt like he wasn't paying attention to the community and what their needs are.
Mm.
There was a lot of members of the community who felt a way that they were being neglected due to their background because they are not Hispanic.
Okay.
So at that time I went out and spoke with different leaders. There was a lot of, Black and Black men and women. You've had the African community. You've had the Garifunas, who are not Hispanics, by the way. And they get so upset. They get very upset when you categorize them as Hispanics. They're like, no, we are Afro-Caribbeans.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's just me paying more attention to the community's needs and the fact that, crimes are going up. We had issues with slumlords, and he just wasn't present. It was like you only catered to one specific group of constituents. And to me, I didn't feel like it was right. So running against him, yes, it was a beautiful experience. There were some challenges, as you well know, me not making the ballot, but I also ran as an independent. And I have to say, it was a great experience for me. My daughter was out there with me when we were, doing these food giveaways, food drive. We were doing it like twice a week.
Wow.
In partnership with law enforcement. I mean, we've had cops from the 4-1, the borough, downtown. I mean, I think COVID-19 was a true eye opener for many. It exposed a lot.
Yes, it did.
It exposed
Yes, it
the
did.
lies, and a lot of people felt it. We took a huge hit during the pandemic, and it exposed a lot of elected officials, as you well know. So, yeah, if I were to run again, maybe I'll leave it up to God to see what my calling will be in the future. But in the meantime, I think my work as a community advocate is more important right now. And let's see what I can do to maybe help somebody else run for office, or, I'm part of a political organization. Is it okay?
Really, guys?
The political organization is called One City Rising. It's a 501c4. We work with candidates who are moderate Democrats, moderate Republicans, conservatives, independents. We want to help amplify the voice of moderate candidates who want to get into office, who share the same agenda, who want to actually fix things in the community and not disrupt it. So those are the type of candidates that we will support. I'm all about getting boots on the ground and just advocating, and just supporting the right people for office.
Good. Supporting the right people in office. Well, let's talk about the right people in office, because when we start talking about politics and politics and all this good stuff, now we're in a day and era that politics is more tricky than I've ever witnessed and been a part. But I just want to get your thoughts on, if you were to compare the politics of today and compared to the politics of as opposed to the politics of, say, 25 years ago, if you could. All right. And if you want to talk to us about what does the politics of they look like, then that gives an example to lay the groundwork of what we're comparing it to.
Politics today, that's an easy one.
Okay.
I think politics today is more about following the people behind the scenes agenda, the people with the money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think today's politics is more about the elected officials caring about being a celebrity and not being a representative of their district. And I'm not saying every politician, but you do have like a small percentage who are good, who are doing the right thing, and then you have a majority of them who ran for office just to get that paycheck, just to have a title, don't know what it's like to worry about their next meal, don't have children, not a believer in God, because so help me, if you say the word God today, it's now offensive.
Yeah.
There's a lack of respect for other people's political views. I remember 25 years ago, you can have a disagreement, Democrat, Republican, you can disagree about political views, but you were able to still sit down and have a meal together and work together.
Right. Right.
Today, it's like you are punished as a Democrat for associating with a Republican or associating with a conservative. You're not allowed to. I said, well, what kind of leader are you if you can't reach out to the other side of the aisle and say, hey, let's work together to pass something bipartisan to help unite,
Yeah.
the districts, the city. Let's be the forefront. Let's be the face. Today's elected officials, they're not about that. It's competition.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, look on down to what they're wearing today.
Oh.
You have leaders who are not dressed like leaders. First impressions last.
True.
You want respect from your constituents, but you have the nerve to sit in a hearing or go into your community with baggy jeans on, crop tops, mini skirts, half naked, and you want your constituents to recognize you as a council person, assembly person, a senator, a congress. Unacceptable. Back in the day, there was class, there was respect, some type of decorum. We had something of substance. Today it's just, I don't know what we're doing today. This is like, this administration this is new for me.
I like what you mentioned. We were talking about being stately. Actually, that's what you're actually talking about, being stately. And I have to agree. I've seen a number of individuals who hold titles who don't behave stately. They forgot that they are not quote unquote activists, whatever it is, whatever term they want to use for themselves. But now you as a legislator have to operate in legislative mode.
Yes.
One of the things I know I engaged in as a council member is never lobbying against myself.
Yeah.
I get that. How do you lobby against yourself?
They're rallying against themselves. I'm like, you voted on this.
Yeah.
This is your doing.
Right.
I'm going to protest myself so it can look good.
Yeah. This is so it's a little odd to say the least. But when we start talking about what do we have as a criteria, you mentioned whether if you don't own a home or if you own a home, if you don't have a children, if you have any family, your thinking can be a lot different. But I don't mind you thinking differently, but that doesn't mean you can't find a way to think to the people's reality. That's their reality.
Exactly.
If someone has children, their reality is different than the person who doesn't have children.
Exactly.
A homeowner's reality different than the renter. So you got to have a balance on it. Because I have always said when Mayor Blasio, and I know we need housing. I get it, we need housing, but why we're not having a conversation about ownership? Why does everything have to be rented to somebody who owns it? They're the ones.
Thank you.
Why can't we own it? And then we have that equity that we build within our own selves and stabilize our economic conditions. So when, God forbid, I decide that I want to move out of this apartment, I just put $10,000 in this guy's pocket and I can't take any of it to move someplace else. So just food for thought when you start talking about what agendas people have, and they can't have their own agendas. You said years ago, people were able to sit down 25 years ago across the aisle. Yeah. Do you feel that we'll take it even to the federal level before we have to go to our last break? Even going into, we'll stick with the state. Do you find that state elected officials, I know you do some work with the state right now, are they more in sync than the city? Because you're talking about the state's variety of different districts, variety of different agendas. How is the state recognizing themselves to work better together while you're there now as opposed to maybe 20 years ago? Or they're not working together? What do you think?
I think some of the state legislators, they're working together and they're actually taking the time to meet with constituents and community leaders and business leaders. They're making the time, some. we still have a majority of them who are they just want to burn it all down.
Mm-hmm.
And I see the difference. I love the Bronx very much. It will always be a home to me. But you do have a bulk of state elected officials in the Bronx, just a bulk, who are not in tune to their community and what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in Harlem, Manhattan, and parts of Queens, I feel like they're more involved. Staten Island, upstate, parts of Long Island, they're more involved. The Bronx, we have a lot of work to do. We need to have elected officials who are more observant, more involved, and put aside your differences.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with Democrats and Republicans coming to the table together.
Right.
I just don't understand why is it such an issue today. And I think what the wake up call for the Democrats is when the former councilwoman Marjorie Velasquez lost her seat.
Mm-hmm.
She underestimated
Mm-hmm.
her constituents.
Yeah. Well, like I say, people pay attention to people who participate. You would think people were paying attention. They were paying attention, and your participation was not accurate for the people who sent you down there.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're actually right. They get a little bit confused who got them elected. But we're going to come back. We're going to take a break here on King Talk Tuesday with our final segment with the advocate of advocate, Latina Brown. So stay tuned and get this message from Millennial TV. We'll be right back on King Talk Tuesdays. Well, we were going to a
Good Neighbors Community Outreach Agency provides programs that help community residents improve their lives and support their families. Are you in need of food, clothing, employment, or a home? We also provide immigration services and passport renewal.
Hi, I'm Pastor Glad.
And I'm Lady D.
We're here to serve you.
Need help? Ask us.
You can reach us by calling 718-652-3288 or visit us at gncdcny.org.
Welcome back to King Talk Tuesdays, the show with real views, real news, and a real talk. We air every Tuesday at 7 p.m. on Millennium TV Live as well as Facebook. We also air on Roku TV, Amazon, Verizon Satellite, Smart TVs, and Apple TV, all at 7 p.m. live on Tuesday evenings. We also air 9 p.m. on Tuesdays on BronxNet Channel 70 and Fios Channel 2136. Again, as I always say, people pay attention to people who participate. So we need you to continue to participate and showing up and watching our show and dropping a comment and sharing it on Facebook and let us know what you think. And if you have a suggestion for a show, some guests you would like to see, please email us at kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. Again, our email address is kingtalktuesdays@gmail.com. We have roughly about 12 minutes left, and we're going to jump into our final segment with what's been in the air for quite some time. It came to a head. What's it, 34 for 45. But either way, if you play the numbers, God bless you. But I'm just going to say it. Donald Trump. What's up? Talk to us. What is going on? Your thoughts and opinions, any facts in there about the world of New York, the world of Donald Trump, what went down, the presidency. Like, everyone has an opinion, but I know we still have some belief systems that are flawed right now, especially when it comes to politics and parties. Talk a little bit about what's going on with you and your mind and your thoughts on Donald Trump.
Donald Trump is a great leader. As you well know, we had a pre-rally Black Patriots for Trump rally May 18th in partnership with Reverend Ruben Diaz Sr. and the Hispanic clergy. We decided to do that pre-rally to test the waters because we've spoken with the community. They said, we want Trump, we need Trump, we need him. So us hosting that pre-rally, it sent a strong message to the party. And we didn't expect that pre-rally to go national, and it did. It got a lot of attention, and it was like a wake up. It was a wake up for the city and state, and that scared the Democratic Party, I might say. It scared them. They talked about, oh, it's just 10 people that showed up. No, it was more than 10 people there. You know, we've heard their negative feedbacks about us supporting Trump and that we're paid and this and that. No, we're fed up. We, at that time, I just recently left the Democratic Party, by the way. It was like less than a week ago. I am now independent. But you have Democrats who are fed up, independents, Republicans coming together and say, you know what? The Bronx deserves more. So that video that went viral, it got Donald Trump's attention. And his team was like, okay, he's going to come. He's going to come to the Bronx, the South Bronx, show them some love and talk about his agenda. And the Trump rally sent an even bigger message, a stronger message to the Democrats. And it scared them. It scared them. They felt like that Trump has no business in the city. Who are you to tell your constituents that a candidate, I don't care who it is not allowed to do community outreach, to speak with the people? Who are you? They sound like dictators. Okay, this is a party that's trying to control the narrative, fear mongering.
Yeah.
And the people are not falling for it anymore. You've pulled the wool over our eyes for years.
Yes.
And we are done.
Okay. So for education purposes to our viewers, what many people do not know, and I understand the frustration with the Democratic Party, and I want to remind people that for the most part, Black Americans were Republicans before Lyndon B. Johnson. Lyndon B. Johnson ran for president and realized he could not win without the Black vote.
True.
So they organized a voter campaign that converted Black voters to the Democratic Party. And the reason I share that with so many of us, because we're stuck on where the Democratic Party is today, that if any party, if it doesn't line up with your value system, you need to take a look and reassess. It's like a friend. If this person is doing so many things that go against who you are, you have to realize, maybe I shouldn't be friends with this person anymore.
Exactly.
You know,
like this person is bad for me.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that people jump over the fence, go do, but I'm just sharing. I've watched the Republicans, their views, empower, engage people where we want less government, that people can do more for themselves, empower themselves, grow themselves, own some stuff.
Yes.
Where the Democrats have a time of, I say they eat their own. They eat their own. They eat their own. And and then they give you everything. And when you give somebody everything, what are the incentives for them to rise up? I mean, if you say we have opportunities to rise up, then let's lay the playing field that people can grow their own selves, whether they're growing their watermelons, they're growing their chickens, they're growing their iron, they're growing their steel, they're growing their business, but they can grow in their quality of life. And not when someone's trying to grow their quality of life, all of a sudden you throw all these roadblocks in the way.
Yeah.
So they can't succeed. But you let this group of people succeed, but you won't let that set of people succeed.
Thank you. I agree with you 100%.
So yeah, when I hear the frustration that Bronxites has done, and I watched the rally. I was
What'd you think?
Well, I said, when people say enough is enough. And again, it's about being able to get on the microphone in front of people and being articulate something. I will say Donald Trump got in front of a camera and articulated something.
He did.
You know, so people got to realize who is speaking. If someone's speaking to you, listen. If they're not speaking to you, you don't have to listen. You don't have to get mad. You can cut the TV off. Don't vote for anybody you don't want to vote for. But you hit the nail on the head. We keep talking about we have the right to, but then when someone exudes their rights, you say no. You're not. You want to take the rights away.
Exactly. Control.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about now. You say you moved away and you went independent. What does that actually mean?
Well, I don't want to be controlled by either party. I want to be my own person. I want to think freely. I want to be able to vote for the person that best represent my district and that's going to amplify our people. Not, you know, I have to take responsibility on my end too. I was one of those Democrats that will vote down the party line and say, well, I'm gonna vote for this person because they're Black or it's a woman, or, you know, I was one of those individuals. And I'm, you know, over the years of just voting the same way and not seeing any changes, it was like, you know what, I need to change the way I think, the way I look at candidates, and start paying attention to their record.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do for the community? What have you done so far? I think it's so important. I say this to voters out there, please do your research. Do not let them tell you who you should vote for. Use your common sense and look at that person's record. Record speaks for itself. And a lot of times now we don't have a say on who should be elected now, because the party handpicks a candidate and say, well, this is going to be the person that's going to represent your district. Technically, our voices they took away our rights and we let it happen. We let it happen for years. And I think that this movement with Trump is a wake-up call. And I do believe that New York will turn red. It's going to turn red.
Well, with that being said, she had the final word. And I'm just going to stop and leave it there. And I want to say thank you, Queen.
Thank you for having
Latina
me.
Brown, advocate of advocates, for her commitment, her diligence, and her sacrifice that she makes. Because, like she says, and I always say, lack of funding doesn't mean lack of service. So thank you for being on the front lines for so many New Yorkers and beyond. And hope you enjoy the rest of African American Music Month and Caribbean Heritage Month as well. So with that being said, we thank her again. We'll be back next Tuesday. We'll be having a show on the Shell Rocks Festival next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. So please stay tuned in and tell a friend and tell a neighbor. But as we always do on King Talk Tuesdays, we end every show with the scripture. Tonight's scripture reads from Revelation 14:8. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is falling, that great city, because she made all the nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. If no one told you today, God loves you, and so do I. Your friend, your brother, and your neighbor, Andy King. Peace.
Okay.
Camera off.